Good morning and welcome to SimWorld Today. I am Marsh. I am joined this Wednesday morning by none other than Sniper J. Good morning, Sniper. How are we?
Top of the morning to you. I'm feeling great this morning.
You should be feeling great because we finally, at season's end, it took us to the last day of the regular season to finally get our last three conference championships set. Last night, ACC got set with Virginia Tech and Duke as Duke gets the win over Georgia Tech, Purdue and Minnesota in the Big Ten, and Utah UCLA in the Pac-12 to round out our conference championships. We're going to talk those three. We've talked plenty. We've talked Big 12. We've talked SEC. We've not gotten a chance to talk legitimately about these three. So let's start with the ACC, where Duke and Virginia Tech will go toe-to-toe. Virginia Tech, the number one team in the country. Duke, the number two team in the country. Squaring off, who do you like? Why do you like them? Duke got the win against Virginia Tech earlier in the season. Is this going to be a continuation of Virginia Tech's winning streak, or do they fall to Duke in the title game?
I'm a Hokies guy, Marsh.
Okay.
I am. I'm a Hokies guy, but I'm going to take Duke in this conference title game. And here's
And
the reason why.
let's hear it.
I was able to call their game last night.
Mm-hmm.
And Cooper Flag got in foul trouble. And here's what I saw. I saw a change of a complete team. I saw a team that you usually would have to rely on Cooper Flag turn into this defensive, chaotic monster. I mean, they was creating turnovers. They were getting out in transition. And on offense, they looked poised. They ran their screen and rolls to perfection. They made the right reads. They was making shots. They looked really good. And going into this game, I can't deny that. Even though I'm not a Duke fan, I can't deny how good they looked last night to get into the championship game. So I think they're going to carry that momentum over against Virginia Tech and wake Virginia Tech up for Hoopsteria.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with this matchup, because if you're trying to find a kryptonite to Duke, what you need to find is you need a team that's got bodies at the forward position that can defend well against a guy like Cooper Flag, who's the best player in college basketball, regardless of class, who can score on the offensive end, who can go toe-to-toe with one of the best offenses in the country. If you are just looking for that team, Virginia Tech fits the description to a T. They have Travion Novick, they have Newly Cox, two guys that have been player of the weeks both nationally and in their conference throughout this season. You've got a defense that can hang with them. You've got a group that can score, that can slow down Duke's high-powered offense. And yet, despite that, Sniper, I just don't like betting against Cooper Flag. And I'm not saying he is on this level, but he is on this level comparably to the rest of the group. But it's the same thing with betting against LeBron James. There's just something I don't like doing. And I would much rather be wrong betting on him than wrong or right betting against. I mean, obviously I'd rather be right, but I just feel a little bit more confident. I'll go down with the ship. And so that's why I'm with you. I've got Cooper Flag and the Dukies here because I don't know how you stop this man. And for all of the pieces that the Hokies have that can stop Duke, the Blue Devils have the same thing, right? Cooper Flag, Victor Sogauskas are the type of kryptonite if you're trying to slow down Newly Cox and Travion Novick.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But I would say this. If anybody, any superstars, we're going to call them superstars, Novick, Flag, Agauskas, Cox, if any of those guys get in foul trouble, it's a different ballgame for that team.
Absolutely. And I would say that Duke's second level, probably a little bit more confident, right? You've got DeMario Duval, who is a really good sophomore. If he decides to go out, could be a second-round pick. You've got Jeremiah Minor, who's a spark plug of a scorer, really great three-point shooter. I think he's probably a guy, if he gets more than 18 minutes a game, is averaging 15, 16 points a game. In that case, which you're right, if you get them into foul trouble, which is easy to do in college basketball, would you agree that Duke's second-level guys are better than what Virginia Tech brings out there?
Yes. Yes, I think Duke has a better second level of talent than Virginia Tech. But in the same token, I don't know if Duke is ready for that Virginia Tech level of play. Like they played Georgia Tech last night, and they were confident against Georgia Tech. I'm not
Yeah.
sure they're going to be as confident against this Virginia Tech team that's 25-4, 12-2 in conference.
Yeah, and I mean, you see the delta between the top teams in the country last night with the Duke Georgia Tech game. The delta between the good teams, Duke, and the teams that are, excuse me, I should say the great teams like Duke, and the teams that are really good but not quite that good like Georgia Tech, who's, you look at 20 wins, very few teams in college basketball got to 20 wins, really great season, but once the going got tough in the ACC, Georgia Tech wasn't the same dominant squad that they were at the beginning of the season. All right, let's head down to the Big Ten, where we have yet another rematch as Minnesota and Purdue will square off in the Big Ten title game. And Minnesota gets here, Sniper. Despite being the same record as both Michigan State and Illinois, Minnesota went a combined 4-0 against those two teams. That gives them the head-to-head and slipping in there. In what I've said is a very unique Big Ten conference. Really no one has risen above it except Iowa when Lamarian Sherwood was healthy. So this is a conference where I feel like we're not actually getting the two best teams in the conference because Iowa's 5-game losing streak without Sherwood. But we're still going to get a matchup, including a guy by the name of Donald Lafetti, who could be a top 15 pick in the upcoming draft. So who do you like? Duke, Purdue. They met once this season. Purdue got the win back in February at home, which they will again be in Indiana, 77-70.
I think I'm going with the lottery pick. I'm going with Mr. Donald E. Feedy. I think Minnesota gets the job done, and the reason I think they're gonna get the job done is because, like the Big Ten, like you said, it's not the best teams, but they got. I feel like they got something brewing, and they've been counted out ever since they hit their little streak. I mean, Minnesota was hot at one point, and then they just fell off the face of SimWorld U. And now that they have this chance to get back on the map, I think they're going to take advantage of it. And Ifidi is going to be locked in and ready to roll.
College basketball is not like SWBA, where more often than not you can take the best player and you're probably going to win it. But in this case, I actually really like Minnesota as well. I don't trust Purdue because they don't have the type of blow you away piece, right? They don't. You look up and down this roster, and look, college basketball is not about the best player. It's simply not. Pierre Dupont takes that reign for Purdue, but I don't know what you have to slow down Ifedi. I mean, Major Williams, really good defender. He can do a lot of good things on the outside. He's a good shot maker when you need him to, so long as it's inside the paint. But if you can't stop Donald Ifedi from getting into the paint, and you're relying on Pierre Dupont and Ian Krimmer to lock things down, and look, Pierre Dupont is not a renowned interior threat on the defensive side, I don't know that Purdue's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with that. Also, just if I'm looking logistically, Minnesota this season has lost consecutive games just once. It was that 3-game losing streak they had to Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So I beg your pardon, they split with Illinois. They didn't sweep that one. But that's the only time. Otherwise, this team has lost one game and they've got right back to it. And conveniently enough for them, they lost 2 nights ago against Indiana. Track record says they bounce back with a win. And that's their next game, May the 4th, Minnesota Purdue. I'm taking the Gophers there, and it sounds so. You agree with me? You're taking Gophers.
Yes. I'm going Minnesota all the way. I want them to retaliate and put their names back on the map for Monday and when everybody is getting called.
And if you're Iowa, you just have to be kicking. Well, you can't be kicking yourself because of an injury, but talk about disappointment that you're sitting there. Yeah. You're 7-7, even with all that, even with the drama of Sherwood being out, you still were a game away from getting into it. And if this is Purdue, Iowa, I mean, I think we're talking margin of victory, not just who's winning that game, because Iowa's been just when he's been out there, Sherwood 7-2 in conference play. I mean, absolutely dominant. They were by far the best team in the entire Big Ten, and they're not even going to be playing. It's an unfortunateness to this new conference schedule, conference title game setup that SimWorld U has rolled out this season, where we're being deprived maybe the second best player in college basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't say second in my opinion. I
You got
think
him over Flag.
I'm standing on that. I think Lemare
Okay.
Sherwood is the player of the year. That's just
Okay.
me. But we can keep moving.
We will certainly have a conversation about that one. Although I will say, I'll cut down my own argument. It's really tough to argue when your team goes 19-5 with you and 0-5 without you that you're not the
Yeah.
best player in college basketball. All right, let's head to the Pac-12 where UCLA and Utah square off. Utah gets through with the tiebreaker over Colorado. They split the head-to-head. And by the fact of having the better regular season record, Colorado doesn't get in. So we're getting a rematch of Utah UCLA. We had some good ones, but I'm going to say this before we jump into that matchup. I'm actually very disappointed that Colorado didn't make it in because I have really been enjoying the Brian Vaughn resurrection that he has had for Colorado. I mean, he
Yes.
has been maybe the most entertaining player in all of college basketball to watch, in my opinion, to close out this last 2-3 months of the season.
Yeah. Colorado's been impressive. I think they definitely turned some heads. They're going to be in hoop stereo. I think that's a chance for them to turn more heads. And that's all I have to say, Marge. I'm be honest with you.
Real quick on them. Colorado, so they're 14-15, and I've talked to you about this multiple times. Like the number of teams that used a really great conference schedule to make themselves into a hoop stereo team. Colorado along with Wisconsin, and Wisconsin maybe not, but Colorado especially, the poster child of this group that's really bad during the regular season, during the non-conference, I should say, and then they're borderline dominant, 9-5 in the Pac-12, and two of those losses came since February 13th. So they've gone 9-2 to finish out the season. That saved their season. This was not a team that was heading to Hoopsteria. Now at 14-15, they are squarely off the bubble. They are going to be in Hoopsteria. The season for the Buffaloes is really incredible with how much saving they did over the last 11 games.
Yes. Some would say they got hot at the right time, and yes, they did. I I believe the 9-5 is. I think conference play in general it bodes well for teams that find a momentum and they know every team in the conference already. So
Mm-hmm.
if they find a momentum and get the playing well together, that really boosts their chance to make hoop stereo, especially in a big conference like the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is not a weak conference, and they got a lot of good teams. So when the committee sees this team and see what they did over the last 11 games, like you said, oh yeah, they're in. But they are going to have a tough matchup in that first or second round
Yeah.
because of their 14-15 overall record.
Yeah, you don't help yourselves out by going whatever 5-10 in non-conference
Yes.
play. All right, Utah UCLA rubber match. They played first in February. UCLA won on the road 74-65. They played again about 3 weeks ago. This one in Los Angeles, where Utah on the road wins 85-73. So road teams 2-0 as we get the rubber match May 4th, 2:30. Our last conference championship game, Utah at UCLA. Who do you like and why?
I'm 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 gonna go with Utah. They don't
Ooh,
have. I'm going Utah. That's right. I said it. I'm going Utah.
okay.
And listen to me. I know Eric Snow is over there licking his chops talking about. I'm gonna send a tweet out to Sniper J after this game. But look, Eric,
Come.
Mr. Snow. I'm sorry, Mr. Snow. I'm going with Utah, and here's the reason why. As I look down this stat sheet right here, what I see is I don't see anybody standing out. I see a bunch of guys that play as a team. Everybody contributes. Everybody contributes in every way. Everybody scores. Everybody rebounds. Everybody assists. Everybody gets a steal. The big men do their job with the blocks, and they're a good defensive team. And I think they have UCLA's number, Marsh.
So you say you look at Utah and you look up and down their roster and you say we've got scoring, we've got rebounding, we've got assists. What you don't have is shooting. And I think a pathway to postseason success tends to factor around shooting. And UCLA does it better than anyone in the country. Gerald
Yeah.
Carroll, 83 made threes on 52.9%. He's shooting lights out on massive volume. Blaine Kidd off the bench in 20 minutes a game, 40%. You've got Edmund Nesbitt coming off the bench in very limited minutes, just 6 minutes a game. This guy's still jacking it up, 44%. And then, of course, the guy that you called out, Jalen Snow, 41% in 30 minutes per game. If Jalen Snow and LeGerald Carroll are rolling, and you get the playmaking of J.J. Ortega, this team is among the best in the country. Now, they have not been great on the defensive side of the ball. That's been their downfall. And they're going up against a Utah team, in my opinion, that doesn't really have the offensive firepower that will expose that lack of defense. We're going to see two very different approaches. A really good defensive team in Utah without a lot of offense, and the polar opposite of that in UCLA. So it's going to come down to what one of these two battles wins out. Is it the great defense or the great offense? And I'm taking the offense of UCLA. I'm not picking. Go back to the Cooper Flag argument. The best player in this game is Jalen Snow, and
hands down.
There's if you want to argue against that, I'm not seeing you, Sniper, anybody. I don't want to talk basketball with you because there's not a player in his stratosphere in the court as Jalen Snow, and that alone should be enough. But this offense for UCLA is among the best when it's on. The challenge has been it's been so inconsistent.
All that's perfect, Marsh. But hear me when I say this, and you heard this before. Defense win championships. Utah's
Are
gonna
you
go out
Nico
there
Harrison?
and no, I'm not. I'm Sniper J. I'm Sniper J. But listen to me. Defense win championships, and Mr. Snow can go out there and have his 30. He can do what he wants. He's a big time player. He can shoot the lights out the ball. He shoot the twilight out of it. But everybody else, I'm telling you, the Utah Ets or whatever the Utah Ets, they are clamping that Utes clamps.
All right,
it's over.
I just don't. I don't trust a team that says Triton Hendon is our best 3-point shooter because he goes exceptionally high volume. And I said this since the beginning of the season. Like, the guy can shoot. He's 33% from deep, but he shoots it like 12 times a game. And like all of his shots, if you look back at the game log for Triton Hendon, and you watch him, obviously, it's all threes. And he's their big man. And it's like, man, I don't mind you shooting threes, but when he's not hitting, this team is not successful because they get nothing going on the offensive side of the ball. So am I supposed to rely on a 33% guy to be the answer in this one? I don't know that I can trust that to be true. To me, I agree, or I already make the statement, Jalen Snow, but I don't know that I can trust Triton Hendon on offense. And you're right, defense wins championships. But look at the Houston Rockets with one of the best defenses, the Orlando Magic with one of the best defenses. I know we're talking pros.
There you go.
But they aren't really winning championships.
Don't get me started on the SWBA. That's a completely different monster.
It sure is.
The U championships can be won strictly on defense. I'm telling you, Marsh, it's going to be a game to look out for. 15 versus 20, Pac-12.
And this is why I tend to be in the SWBA conversation, and I get people that are smarter than me about this SimWorld U conversation to come in here and set me right, try to prevent me from putting my professional biases on things. But I still am taking UCLA. You're not talking me off that ledge. I'm still taking UCLA in that one. All right, so you've got Utah, I've got UCLA. We both agreeing on Minnesota, and we're both agreeing on Duke in the ACC.
Yep.
All right, Sniper, I appreciate you taking the time to chat. We will get you back on. By the time we chat again, next Wednesday, we will be in the final preview moments of Hoopsteria as that all gets rolling on Thursday, May 8th at 11:30 a.m. Of course, on Monday will be the reaction to everything and the unveiling of the bracket after 4 days of conference basketball championship games starting Thursday, May 1st, 2 days from now. Jackson State, Memphis, San Diego State, UNLV. All of that will roll in on May 1st as we get rolling with conference championship hoops. Sniper, absolute pleasure to chat with you. Look forward to breaking down all the conference championship games with you next week on Wednesday. And then, of course, listen to you on the Court General and your Sniper Snippets. So thank you for taking the time to chat, my man. I will talk to you very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right. And everyone else, thank you for tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, beat the game.